Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today the ISO-8 set reroll is active for the 50% discount, and it's noted on the page for each individual hero. So I wanted to do something related to ISO-8 sets. Now, if you guys have been paying attention lately on the videos, if you've been watching them, I did point out that at least for Hyperion, in the video about him, I have the wrong ISO-8 set. I think Hyperion could really do with maximum attack speed. He doesn't have attack speed on any of his skills, any of his passives. He doesn't even have it on his uniform, so we're really lacking on attack speed, and he needs it bad. And I don't want to get more from my cards. Attack speed Urus are not really that effective in the grand scheme of things, so we are left with the ISO-8 set. Now, I have said no to doing this in the past. However, the Netmarble employers, the people who write my paycheck, they decided to pay me a holiday bonus so that I could put together a list for you guys, for us to use. So the kind of Cynicalex Marvel Future Fight Master Guide that has the CTP list, the tier list, the uniform list, the native tier 2 ranking, is now being graced with a 5th list. This is a full ISO-8 set list for all, not all yet, but they're all listed. All 175 characters are listed. Now, I said just before that in the past I have kind of shied away, or I've tried to turn away from doing a list like this. And the reason why I didn't want to do a list like this is because a lot of it seems very obvious to me, but also a lot of it is very repetitive. So that is one thing you're going to notice a lot of. A lot of the ideal sets and a lot of the second place sets are exactly the same. It's Overdrive and Power of Angry Hulk, and you kind of just flip-flop the two for specific characters. Now, there will be a small number of people who will say, but Cynicalex, you don't play the game defensively, you don't like Alliance Conquest, you don't like Timeline Battle. No, I don't. Those game modes are garbage. However, for those of you that are more keen on having a defensive character, although I think it's suboptimal, honestly, I did list a 4th kind of column here for super tanky. Now, this is just in my opinion, so of course these are not rules, these are just my thoughts. But for characters that I think could benefit the most from a super tanky set, I decided to put that in there. However, you will notice that the majority of characters do not have the super tanky tag, or they don't have anything listed there, even though they have it listed in other areas. The reason for that is I just don't believe those characters would ever function successfully on a high level using those ISO-8 sets. However, you can definitely use them. To give you guys a bit more context into what I'm talking about in terms of the abbreviations, I know sometimes you guys can get confused. I did add an abbreviation list. POAH, of course, Power of Angry Hulk, Overdrive, Hawk's Eye. Those are the 3 kind of best or most sought after sets because they provide an attack bonus, and because defenses in this game just don't work very well compared to offenses, and most game modes are timed, so you need to kill the enemy before the time is up, which means you need to be offensive. It's not about survival, it's about conquering. But then we also have a few defensive sets. I wanted to leave them in here because they are relevant to certain characters in certain specific situations for very specific builds. So we have Drastic Density Enhancement, Stark Backing, Binary Power, and then I Am Also Groot. All of the other ISO-8 sets, I honestly think, are garbage. Garbage in the sense that they are not worth re-rolling for, and you should only settle on them temporarily if you are completely flush out of gold, or you're saving your gold up for something else. In that case, I would not recommend equipping 6-star ISO. What you can do to kind of hedge meaning you go kind of halfway, so you do equip the character, but you don't go all the way, is you can equip the majority of the ISO-8 that you need for that character without equipping the full 8. And so I'll try to find an example for you guys here. There have been a few characters recently that I've built with that in mind because I couldn't roll their best ISO-8 set. So for example, Weapon Hex, and we'll talk a little bit more about her later, she actually has a lot of attack speed, so she doesn't need attack speed on her ISO-8 set. So Overdrive is actually better than Power of Angry Hulk. However, I didn't have enough gold, and I didn't want to well, I had enough gold, I just didn't want to spend it on Weapon Hex. And so what I could have done, instead of equipping all 6-star ISOs, I could have equipped 7 of them, and then the last chaotic, because the difference between Power of Angry Hulk and Overdrive is the difference between 1 chaotic and 1 silver. As you can see here, we have 3 chaotics for Power of Angry Hulk. For Overdrive, we have 2 chaotics and 2 powerfuls. I could have equipped 7 6-star chaotics, and then the last chaotic, I could have equipped a 3-star or 4-star chaotic, and then that would have been kind of a temporary placeholder so I could take advantage of the set's bonuses without wasting a much more valuable 6-star ISO, and then I could go back later on and I could switch it out for the one after the one that I need, the extra powerful one, when I roll the ideal set for Weapon Hex. So that is the example I wanted to give you guys as far as what you should do in a budget situation if you find yourself having to settle for something like I Am Also Groot or Hawk's Eye or any other set, Smart Raccoon, etc., and you don't want it, but you don't have any other choice. For those of you that want an additional piece of information for the too long didn't read cheat sheet, I give you guys the basic, the fundamental understanding of each of these ISO-8 sets. So the Power of Angry Hulk is the attack speed set with 3 chaotics. 3 chaotics means that you can get more HP because each chaotic has 2 stats, attack and then another stat. You could roll dodge, you could roll crit damage or crit rate, but honestly HP is by far the best. So because of that, you will get more HP. So if you compare Overdrive and you compare Power of Angry Hulk has 3 chaotics, which means you have 3 slots for HP, whereas Overdrive only has 2 chaotics and no vital ISO, which is the flat HP ISO. And so for that reason, if you compare 2 characters, one with Overdrive, one with attack speed, or one with Overdrive, one with Power of Angry Hulk, the one with Power of Angry Hulk will have slightly more base HP because of that extra chaotic. Overdrive is maximum offense because you switch attack speed for crit damage, but not crit damage is not always better than attack speed, so just keep that in mind. But it's kind of how you can refer to Overdrive, maximum offense. That's probably why they called it Overdrive. Hawk's Eye is the budget choice for offensive sets. It does not have Ignore Defense as a role as one of the stats, so you need to keep that in mind, but it does have the Vital ISO and it has 2 Chaotics, so you basically get the exact same number of HP ISO as Power of Angry Hulk, but you are missing, you get cooldown and dodge instead of crit damage, or instead of Ignore Defense and another stat. No attack speed either. DDE, Drastic Density, is half offense, half defense. So this is more defensive, but it still gives you an attack, an all attack, and I believe an attack speed or crit damage buff. So the character is not totally defensive. Stark Banking is the defensive, one of the best defensive ISO-8 sets for those characters that do not have native healing. So a perfect example would be Captain America. He doesn't have a heal. Stark Banking gives him a heal so that he can lower his health down, pop the heal, and then continue. You don't control the heal, but you get what I'm saying. Binary Power, on the other hand, is the best defense for self-healing characters. So characters that already have a heal like Thanos, Binary Power is far and away better than Stark Backing because it amplifies the healing because of the recovery rate, and it also provides a shield, which means that you won't overheal, because if you're already healing, there's a greater chance that you'll be at max health when the Stark Backing proc would activate, and then you would basically just waste it. That's why you don't really want to give Stark Backing to characters that have native healing like Wolverine, Thanos, etc. And then I Am Also Groot is kind of the budget defense build if you really want to build a tanky character, but you don't have the gold or the luck to get Stark Backing or Binary Power. So with that understood, with that explanation out of the way, you can go through the list and you can understand more about it, and you can see what I've suggested for each character. The ideal ISO-8 set for the vast majority of characters is going to be offensive, purely offensive, and same with the secondary one. There are a few differences for characters that rely solely on one type of playstyle, i.e. Destroyer and Luke Cage. They don't have another way of operating in terms, they're not going to kill you with damage, so getting an offensive ISO-8 set is just not that valuable. Or characters like Groot, they're just there to survive, so Binary Power or DDE is going to help them survive a lot longer than any ISO-8 set that is offensive. Additionally, I did try to differentiate some characters, not all, but some characters that really don't benefit at all from either Overdrive or Power of Angry Hulk as the second ISO-8 set. So I'll try to explain what I mean here, and we'll take one at the very top here, Agent Venom, Overdrive as the ideal set, and then Hawk's Eye as the second place ISO-8 set. The reason for that is that he in this case Agent Venom, gets so much attack speed from his base set. And actually an even better example of this would be if we scroll down all the way to the bottom and you check out Venom. I think Venom is probably the absolute best example of a character who you do not want Power of Angry Hulk for. You could make the argument for the extra ISO, the extra chaotic, for the extra HP, but it's still, I think it pales in comparison to the value of getting Hawk's Eye if you can't get Overdrive. And the reason for that is he has so much base attack speed from his build. So in this case for Venom, and of course it's different for different characters, it could be on a skill. For Venom it's on his tier 2 passive, so of course this matters whether you're taking the character into consideration at tier 1 or tier 2, but I don't really make guides for tier 1 characters because it's so easy to get tier 1 characters. It's almost assumed with a tier 2 ticket every month that you'll be able to get them to tier 2 relatively soon, and you want to build characters to their maximum potential. Symbiote Instinct gives him a 35% all speed bonus. He's the most exaggerated character in terms of attack speed, so his base attack speed will be capped. You can see mine is over-capped by 25%. It will be capped even if you have 0 attack speed on cards. As soon as you get to tier 2, it'll instantly be capped because the base attack speed for all characters is 100% and the max is 130. So 135 by my math is over 130. Now in this case, I have Overdrive. You can see that I have slotted a 4-star. I don't know if I was thinking of changing this set later on, but that is an example visually of what I was talking about with Weapon Hex. So in this case, it would be just fundamentally wasteful to get Power of Angry Hulk on Venom because you're wasting one of the stats. One of the stats on Power of Angry Hulk is attack speed. You just don't need attack speed. You need 0 attack speed. So you're basically, if you're investing in Power of Angry Hulk, you're only investing in it for the other 4 stats, which is just not effective. So even though these 5 stats, maybe dodge is not that valuable for you for a Hawk's Eye, but it's actually doing something. Whereas the attack speed in Venom's case is literally doing nothing for the character. And of course, there are very specific situations where a character could get their attack speed or their movement speed lowered, but those situations are so far and few between. I mean, Cull Obsidian World Boss Ultimate is probably one of the only times where that happens, that it's really not necessary to build your characters overcapped on any stats, including, important stats like ignore defense and skill cooldown. There's just no evidence of enough reduction in any meaningful way in any meaningful game mode for you to want to do that. Furthermore, I have also offered up the opinion about attack speed. Needs attack speed. Generally speaking, attack speed is good. There are possibly certain situations where even though the character is not capped on attack speed, you don't want them to be capped. In the case of wanting to chain your iframes, more attack speed means you technically have less iframe time. So if you want to be a big troll, for example, a really good example is Corvus. You can take Corvus and you can build him so that he has the minimum amount of attack speed. And with the minimum amount of attack speed, you can chain a couple of his iframes on his 3rd skill with his uniform, on his 3rd skill and possibly on his 2nd skill, and you can basically just perpetually be in an iframe for something like Timeline Battle, which is not possible if you have maxed attack speed. Now again, these are very specific situations and it's impossible for me to list every single one of them, so this is definitely something that you need to read into and you need to justify and you need to come to the conclusion on your own, but I've just offered my opinion in terms of what I think. For characters where it says 50-50, it is partially based on the build. It is partially based on whether or not you want the character to function at that level. I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have maximum attack speed for those characters, but most of these characters that I've listed 50-50 on are not kind of meta-defining characters. They're characters that are a bit more on the fringes, a bit more kind of 2nd or 3rd tier characters. Possibly Winter Soldier is the only one that isn't. And so for that reason, it is something that you should take into consideration yourself on an individual basis. Furthermore, I didn't state this at the beginning, but I do want to point out that these characters are all assumed to be at least tier 2 and of course rocking their latest uniforms. So if you don't have their uniforms, if you're playing these characters with their base kits, it may be completely different, because in the case of a lot of these characters, and again, it's not something that I can list on this sheet, they don't have the same buffs with and without their uniforms. And so not having those buffs means that you're not getting the same amount of attack speed, or you're not getting the same amount of skill effects or stat effects, stat bonuses, boosts. And for that reason, the list may not serve you. It's not totally non-functional, but it may not serve you as accurately if you're taking the character into consideration without their uniform. So if that is the case, you should really take a close look at the character's skill changes with and without their uniform. If you spot a character that has attack speed bonuses on some of their skills, that would be an indication that they don't need something like Power of Angry Hulk with their uniform. One example I can take of a character that may be an exception to that rule is Spider-Man. Now, for those of you that don't know, Spider-Man on his Infinity Ward uniform has an attack speed buff on his uniform effect. However, I don't judge the attack speed buff to be consistent enough to be warranted not getting Power of Angry Hulk as his default ISO-8 set. So in my opinion, for Spider-Man, even if you have Infinity War, which is the uniform that I'm assuming you all have because it's his newest one and his best one, I still recommend Power of Angry Hulk. I think Spider-Man is a very strong character offensively and also defensively, but he requires maximum attack speed so he can get his attacks off quickly, he can get you webbed up ASAP. And so for things like iframe dueling, when one character's priority takes precedent over another, having max attack speed absolutely matters, because if you have more attack speed than your opponent, especially in a mirror match, it's especially obvious when it's Spider-Man versus Spider-Man. I know they can't web each other up, but still, sorry about that. I know that two Spider-Men can't web each other up, but still, if you're iframe dueling and you have 130% attack speed and the other Spider-Man has 125, you will get your iframes off first, and you will be able to basically interrupt their iframe or interrupt their casting of their skills and get yours off first, and then you can lock them in a chain stun or a chain guard break if the situation applies for it. But in the case of Spider-Man, he does have an all-speed 10% bonus, but the fact is that it activates with a 35% chance, so it's not on all the time. It's only for 5 seconds, and it's on a cooldown of 10 seconds, which means that it's only half the time. Because of that, I don't believe it's reliable enough. Because of that, I recommend Power of Angry Hulk. But you should take very close look at these characters if you don't have their latest uniforms, if you don't have them at tier 2, because it will impact this list a little bit. Of course, there's also the fact that not every character is listed. I will be trying to fill this list out more as time goes on, but I wanted to put together a list for you guys in time for the discount so you guys can start rolling, and hopefully you guys can get lucky and kind of fill out some of your sets. If you have some suggestions for me, let me know in the comments down below. You can also tweet at me. I especially want to hear from people who have extreme levels of experience with characters. So if you have, rank 100 Shang-Chi or something like that, include that in your tweet if you're sending me picture images or pictures on your tweet, so that I can verify that, because it really goes a long way to providing the most accurate information for you guys. Just taking someone's word for it without any indication of whether they have the character or not can be kind of tricky sometimes, but I'll try to get as much information, crowdsource as much of the missing information as possible from you guys, from YouTube comments, Twitter comments, and then eventually when I'm back on Twitch. So let me know what you guys think of the list. Let me know if there are any additional columns you guys think I should add to provide some additional ISO-8 set information. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.